Yo, what's going on, everybody? Happy Friday. End of the week is here. A lot of stuff to talk about. A lot of stuff to talk about, especially in the NBA front. NHL kicking into full gear tonight as I'm recording. There's still a game going on as I'm going on, but we're going to power through it anyways. This is your Sports Digest. I'm your host, Alex McNinch. And as I mentioned just a second ago, there's a lot of stuff going on, especially in the NBA. So we're just going to hop right into it pretty quickly. And we're going to start off with a bunch of these playoff series. And one of them that just ended about 30 minutes ago or so, the Lakers and the Denver Nuggets series. We'll talk about both games here. I've got some stuff written down because my memory is absolutely awful. So I'll try to give a little brief analysis for those who didn't watch or maybe have forgotten about game one. It was an absolute domination by Jokic and AD. Jokic with a 39-point triple-double, I believe. Anthony Davis had almost 40, if not 40. There was a lot of points in that game where one team would go on a run, and then the next team would throw the big punch. And for the most of the second half, it was a tight back-and-forth affair. Denver, they struggled to put LA away, honestly. There was times in that fourth quarter, especially within the last, I think, 6 or 7 minutes of that game, where Austin Reeves would come down and drain a three. And we'll talk about him a little bit more because he had a massive fourth quarter there. I think he had 12 in the fourth, 24 overall points in the game one. But there would be times he just comes down, comes off a screen and shoots it in over two people and just banks it in. And it's like, all right, what the hell? What can you do to stop this right now? You go down and make a layup. They come back down. Somebody's open in the corner, whether it's Lonnie Walker, D'Angelo Russell. Anthony Davis finds himself in the corner wide open a lot in that game one. But the real key to this Nuggets team, and we'll talk about it in game two here a little bit more, but Jamal Murray was a big key in that game. I think he was 4 for 8 from three, which when Jamal Murray's feeling it, he's feeling it, as you probably saw in game two. And my one note about game one going into game two is that you needed to put Jared Vanderbilt onto Jamal Murray. Jared Vanderbilt had the assignment of Ja Morant in round one. Struggled a little bit on Curry, but Curry also struggled in that series. So Vanderbilt wasn't really useful on the offensive end for them, but was a great threat on the defensive end. But I mean, we're going to talk about game two because I think that's what everybody wants to talk about. That's what's on my mind the most. And game two, it looked like for a while that, especially in the second quarter and then coming out of half, that LA was just going to run away with this one. There was a chance that that the Nuggets were shooting themselves out of the game. At one point, Jamal Murray was shooting 2 for 12 from the field. And it was a big question of, hey, look, Jokic is giving you a pretty solid game, but Rui Hachimura hasn't missed a shot. It's looking like game one all over again against the Grizzlies, where Rui literally couldn't miss a shot at all. The Japanese Jordan back at it again with his antics of not missing shots. And then Austin Reeves picking up where he left off in game one of having a fire fourth quarter. I think he scored the first 7 points, 7 of 10 points for the Lakers to start out this game. So it was a dominant Lakers first half, I would say. And then the second half, I don't even know what necessarily clicked or turned on, but Denver found a way to start making shots. Jamal Murray, insane second half, insane fourth quarter. Michael Porter Jr. finding his stride, hitting threes. Jokic didn't score at all in the fourth quarter. Let's keep that in mind. The runner-up potential, probably MVP, especially what we've seen from Embiid last series, did not score a single point in the fourth quarter. Jamal Murray went from shooting, I think it was 2 for 6 or 2 for 7 from three, and he just hit like 4 straight. And it was unbelievable to watch him play. He got hot right at the right time, and that's kind of what you need in a playoff series where on paper you look at it, Anthony Davis and LeBron James matched up against a Nuggets team that has incredible depth, has a lot of good role players around Jokic, but who's going to be that next guy to step up? And Jamal Murray was that guy to step up. But looking at the both teams, it's like, hey, look, Denver should be winning this, right? But the only way that you can see Denver losing these types of games is if LeBron James or Anthony Davis have an incredible game, or both have an incredible game. One of your reserve pieces for the Lakers have an incredible game. Rui Hachimura, in this instance tonight, had a fantastic game, and we're leading them to a win at some point within the game. Or the Nuggets just start playing careless basketball, stop trying on the defensive end, and they're just not hitting their shots. They're a team. They're kind of like in the Warriors' way of that they live and die by the three. Michael Porter Jr., if he's not hitting threes, he's about as worthless as I am on the basketball court. If KCP isn't hitting threes, there's not much he can do at his age anymore. Jokic obviously isn't going to factor into that. But if Jamal can't hit threes, when Jamal is off, he's off. But when he's on, and we saw that in the fourth quarter. They put Vanderbilt on Murray a little bit, but that didn't really affect anything too much and too greatly. And then, another thing to talk about from the Lakers' standpoint is LeBron is shooting 0% from three in the Western Conference Finals. Granted, that's a 2-game sample, but I think he was 0-6 tonight. Like, I saw somebody say it on Twitter, and I couldn't agree more. This was the first game, I feel like this playoffs maybe even, that LeBron looked old. Like, LeBron looked like a 38-year-old guy that's playing 40 minutes in a playoff game in the conference finals that is just, he's just tired. Right? And, you can't knock it for that. Obviously, you can knock him for his flopping or his other antics, whatever, right? But, look, he's given his all to his team. He's damn near 40 years old, but when his shots aren't falling, it's crucial to his team. He really shot them out at this game. He was looking like his true Dylan Brooks form out there. Just they're leaving him wide open. Like, hey, LeBron, I know you're potentially one of the greatest basketball players of all time. We'll just keep you wide open. You're not going to hit a three. He couldn't do it against Golden State, really. He definitely didn't do it against Memphis. I think he shot 22% from three in the entire series against the Grizzlies. And by the end of the fourth quarter, it wasn't just LeBron. Everybody looked dead. I know there was a point where Jamal Murray is literally gasping for air. He's hunched over walking up the court, and they throw the ball to him to take it up, and he's just like, no, please, God, somebody take it up. Somebody take it away from me. I just need to go to the corner and sit for a minute. They didn't sit the entire second half. I think every Nuggets starter played the entire second half except for KCP, who rotated in and out with Bruce Brown, who is really solidifying his free agency role this upcoming offseason. A guy who is a player option for, I think, $12 million will definitely be declining that and going and getting himself probably $20 million after this playoff series and potentially an NBA Finals run as the Nuggets are up 2-0 in the series going back to LA. I think when you look at it at this standpoint, you're not going to sweep LeBron and AD, right? That's just you're not going to sweep the Lakers. They're going to have a game. We've seen against the Warriors and the Grizzlies this playoffs already that playing in LA is a tough place to play. That crowd really gets into it. Even for the play-in game when the Lakers play terrible, the crowd helped will them into it. So I think you can see if the Nuggets come out and have a great shooting game, they're going to have a pooper game, just kind of like they did in the first half here. Whether it be game 3 or 4, I do not know. But I feel like they're going to have one stinker of a game where the Lakers just catch fire and blow them out. And then there's going to be a game where they escape and they find a way to win. And I think they split the series here going into, or they split the 2 games going into LA. And coming out of it this weekend, I believe by the time we're going to be talking again next week, we'll be seeing the Nuggets up 3-1. I think this series ends in 6, honestly. I think it does. I think that this Nuggets team, as we've seen so far recently, is outmatching this Lakers team in hustle, youth, shot making. I think this team is much better than a lot of people anticipated. And like I said in previous episodes, A lot of people knock this team for being a quote unquote regular season team, but once again, if you're not successful in the regular season, then you're not going to be successful in the postseason. You got to play games with your guys to build this chemistry, to build this momentum, like you're seeing. Like if you watch the way that Denver plays and the way that they run off screens and set backdoors, like there's times where Jokic is just throwing it over the back of the head because he knows where Porter Jr. is going to be. He knows where Bruce Brown's going to be or Jamal's going to be. Like it's insane. And that's why they're so good in the regular season, because they've built this chemistry over time. And I think that helps them stand out above all. So I think the Nuggets can potentially finish this out in 6. But then again, next time I talk to you guys, the series won't be over for sure. So we'll at least get past game 3 for us to talk about it a little bit more before I really give my full prediction breakdown on what could happen. But that's going to be it for that Lakers and Nuggets series, which, hey, look, the Nuggets might be up 2-0, but it's a fun series to watch a lot of shot making. And where this series is, you see a lot of flopping. You see a lot of 3-point shooting, a lot of high motor offense, like fast pace, getting out in transition. We move on to the other series that is completely opposite of what this is in the Heat versus the Celtics. And that game 1, besides the YouTube TV absolutely exploding in the fourth quarter, was an absolute masterclass of a basketball game. It was two teams just throwing straight Mike Tyson, Floyd Mayweather haymakers at one another. You would see Miami go up 10, tie game a minute later. Boston would go up 10 plus. 2 minutes later, Miami is back and tied the game or has the lead. It's two teams that know each other very well. They've played against each other in the bubble in 2020 in the Eastern Conference Finals. They played each other last year in the Eastern Conference Finals, right? They know what it takes to play against each other, and they're just throwing straight haymakers. Like I said, it's a complete opposite series because of the fact that both teams are just so scrappy, right? You see some complaining about foul calls, but like Jimmy Butler is one of those guys, and we'll get to him a little bit more in a minute in depth, but he's just one of those guys that it's a next play mentality all the time for him, right? Hey, I might have gotten fouled here and I missed a shot. Let me go down and try to force another miss so that we can potentially come back down here and get it back for ourselves. Right? Both of these teams are diving. I remember there were 2 possessions in a row where Jaylen Brown dove from like the 3-point line into the restricted area to save a loose ball. And same with Al Horford, who's 75 years old. Once again, 75 years old, diving for loose balls. Jimmy Butler's not afraid to get in the mix with a broken ankle, damn near. It seems like. Kyle Lowry, he's small as hell, but his thick ass is going to go in there and dive for loose balls as well. It's just completely opposite from what you're seeing in Denver and LA. But there's also one thing that you see in this series that makes it stand out from anything else, and it's Jimmy Butler. That man is on a mission to become the greatest or the most underrated basketball player of all time. Like, I don't think Jimmy gets the respect he deserves, and I think a lot of people understand that. His shot-making ability is unbelievable. He doesn't need the flashy three-pointers. He doesn't need to do the crazy finishes in the paint, the dunks, the posters, right? He's going to get to his spot. Him and DeMar DeRozan are 2 guys that I talk about a lot to my friends about how, like, those are guys who I want on my team. Guys who know how to get to their spots, will get to their spots, and make those shots from there as well at a high volume. And Jimmy definitely did that, putting up 30-plus in Game 1. Bam Adebayo with 20 and like 12 or something like that. That's all you can ask from Bam Adebayo, a guy who's not known for his scoring. If you can give 15-plus from Bam Adebayo, it's an easy win for the series. And the real winner of this game, I think, is Eric Spoelstra. And I said it to someone already, and I've been singing his praises. And for a little bit of a background for those of you who don't know me, one of the things I dream about is being a coach one day in the NBA or a scout at a high level. And I'll show off some of those skills here in a little bit. But the big thing I always talk about is how who I want to model myself over or model myself on is Eric Spoelstra, and just the fact that he started from the lowest of lows, a video editor, a video coordinator guy for the Miami Heat, and worked his way all the way up until Pat Riley retired, and he ultimately became the head coach. And you see the guys he's developed, right? 3 undrafted guys played a crucial role for this Miami Heat team this year. You had Kyle Lowry, who is getting paid, I think, $155 million or something like that in his total salary, coming off the bench. So that Max Strus and Gabe Vincent, 2 undrafted players, 2 players 5 years ago, if I were to tell you they would put up a combined 30 points and 6 3-pointers made in a conference finals game, you'd say, why is he even starting in that game? Caleb Martin, a guy that is known for having a twin brother and, both of them not really doing the highest level of performance, he gives you 15 off the bench with 3 threes. And it's, again, 3 undrafted guys that Spoelstra has helped develop in that system. Kevin Love, again, another 75-year-old man out there making plays. Kyle Lowry, who looked like absolute crap the entire regular season, is finding a way in this postseason and working in this system. And then obviously Jimmy Butler doing his thing as well with Bam Adebayo. And this team doesn't even have Tyler Hero. He's probably not going to be back unless they make the finals. But you're missing a guy who can go out there and give you 20+ in Tyler Hero. And that's a crucial part of this team that you're missing right now. He got hurt in game, 1 or 2 of that Milwaukee series? I think 1. And you haven't had him since, and you're still playing the way you are. That's something that Miami fans should be super happy about. Something that Boston fans should not be super happy about, but also could be happy about. They could be happy about getting Malcolm Brogdon. It's clear as day he's the best pickup of the offseason. They traded him for a bag of balls and some hot Cheetos from Indiana, and he's been fantastic for them. An elite scorer off the bench, 15+ a night for you, winning 6th man, or did he? I don't know if he won 6th man of the year or not. I think he did. Almost positive he won 6th man of the year. I might be completely wrong. Fraud show I am. But he's been awesome for them, was great in that last game. But the things you don't want to be happy about is Jason Tatum's performance in the final 5 minutes. And there's a lot of times where, you can look at, I almost called him Ime Udoka, the Celtics head coach, you get it, Joe Mazzulla, and think, why is he running your best player as a screen guy at the top of the key, and none of the plays are ending up going towards him or going for him, right? So there's a lot of times where you can look at Mazzulla and be like, all right, why are you not trying to draw up plays for your best player on your team? But in the final 5 minutes, there was a 3-possession stretch from Jason Tatum where he was at the top of the key and threw it behind him, turned it over, Jimmy Butler jumped the lane and made the pass. He came down again, and his pivot foot or his plant foot dragged travel, another turnover. And then he came back down again and traveled again. And it's just like, what? Like, I understand that maybe you have been a little cold, you haven't been able to take shots, but you're seeing immediately 2 as soon as you get the ball. They are sending 2 at you, even 3 maybe as a shade guy at the top of the free throw line, right? And you got to understand in those moments, you're going to get all of these different types of doubles or blitzes thrown at you because you're Jason Tatum. You're a top 5 player in the NBA. And to see him make those crucial turnovers down the stretch and make some boneheaded mistakes, it's a little concerning. But then again, you saw these flashes at the beginning of the series last time for Boston when you played Philly, and he eventually came alive and, performed when it mattered the most in Game 7. But I don't know. I'm torn on this series. I think this is going 7 no matter what. I think this is a 6 or a 7 game series for sure. This is my favorite series to watch, and it's mainly because both teams just throw haymakers. And when Boston looked dominant, Miami responds with a 40-point third quarter, and that was what got them back in this game. And I just love these teams. I love how the rivalry is instilled in there. And you can tell that both of these teams know each other and want to beat each other. And that's what we need in the NBA these days. So I think you see Boston bounce back here in Game 2. And I think Game 3 will happen on Sunday, I believe. So I guess for Game 3, Miami, Game 1 or the first game in Miami, I could see Miami winning that one. But no matter what, I think this is going 7 for sure. This is my favorite series by far, just because I like more of the guys playing in this series than I do in the LA one. But these playoffs are a lot of fun. I just spent a lot of time talking and breaking it down, but there's something that is maybe even more important going on in the NBA, and it was the NBA draft lottery that happened this last Tuesday, and the top 3 odds were tied at 14% or 18%, I can't remember exactly, between the Detroit Pistons, the Houston Rockets, and the San Antonio Spurs. And the draft order, as you can watch the lottery, when Vice President of the NBA, Mark Tatum, was naming the names off, everything was going in order, and then you got to number 5, and it was like, okay, is this going to be the Houston team, or is this going to be the Texas teams? Is this going to be the Trailblazers, or is this going to be Charlotte? And the Detroit Pistons came up with the number 5 pick. They had the worst record in the NBA, were injury riddled the entire season, definitely the worst team in the NBA, and fell from 1 to 5, which I think there was a stat that said they were the first time in the new draft rule odds era where a team dropped from 1 to 5. And ultimately, the San Antonio Spurs were that team to land on top of the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes. And if you don't know who Victor Wembanyama is, man, you are in for a treat. People are calling him the greatest prospect of all time. I hate how first of all, I hate how they're pushing this narrative on him and putting all this pressure on the guy, because if he is anything less than the greatest player of all time, he's a bust. It's starting to seem like. And I hate that for him, because he does not deserve that at all. But he is nothing short of a fantastic player. 7'4", out of France. He can shoot threes off the dribble, catch and shoot on one leg. There's a video of him shooting a 3 and going down and getting his own rebound as a putback dunk. This guy's got an incredible post game, can block shots just because he's lengthy as hell. Oh, and by the way, he's got Kyrie Irving handles. So I mean, this is potentially, it's definitely one of the greatest prospects we've ever seen in basketball. But I hate how they're throwing so much just dirt on him, or maybe trying to project him to something that he isn't going to be, maybe. I don't know. But nonetheless, the San Antonio Spurs win those sweepstakes. It is almost guaranteed he's going to be the number 1 overall pick. And I promised you guys that I'd start giving my NBA offseason outlooks, and we're going to do the top 3 teams. And so the top 3 teams in the NBA draft go as follows: the San Antonio Spurs, the Charlotte Hornets, and then the Portland Trailblazers get number 3. So to sit back, this is going to be a little bit of a longer thing. I'm going to try to blow through this, but I kind of want to talk about my reasonings behind it. And we'll start off with the number 1 pick in the San Antonio Spurs. They had a 22-60 record this last year. Definitely one of the worst teams in basketball. If you look at some of their free agents, they got Romeo Langford, they acquired from Boston. Trey Jones, brother of Tyus Jones of the Memphis Grizzlies. Keita Bates-Diop and Gorgui Dieng, both of those unrestricted. Both Romeo Langford and Trey Jones are restricted. They got the first pick in the draft, the 33rd and the 44th. If you don't know, the NBA have 30 teams, so it's 1 through 30 is the first round, 31 through 58 this year, because of some forfeiting due to tampering, will be the second round. And I think right off the bat, obviously with draft picks, you're looking at Victor Wembanyama, number 1. There's no other option at all. With that, we're going to just move on straight from there. At number 33, if you look at this team, they got a lot of vets. They got Devontae Graham still. They got a couple of centers in Zach Collins and Khem Birch that are making, I think, $7 million to just kind of rot and sit there. And at 33, you're going to be getting a prospect kind of like Marcus Sasser out of Houston, the point guard. A little bit undersized, but a great three-point shooter. Or you can get a guy like Julian Phillips, a forward/guard out of Tennessee, undeveloped shot, but super athletic, incredible defender. And with a team now where you have guys like Kellen Johnson or Devin Vassell that are these high time shot makers, and some of them may be coming off the bench like Malachi Branham. You want to get a guy around them that can play this defensive role as well. And then in the 44th pick, Adam Bona out of UCLA, a big man, or James Nnaji out of Spain, another big man. Both guys just big burly dudes that set hard screens and aren't afraid to get themselves in the mix for a rebound or a block. I think those could be some of the picks here. We'll break down some more prospects as we go forward, but I just kind of want to give you a quick, brief analysis on those so we can move on to the potential moves that they can make in free agency. And number one I have on the list of moves that they need to make is to re-sign Tre Jones. There is no doubt in my mind that this team needs that kind of guy going forward. Obviously, as I mentioned, brother of Tyus, he plays similar style, gonna be one of the top assist to turnover ratios in the league. Great IQ, not the worst defensively, you would be surprised. Can knock down the three occasionally, but he's been a really good piece for this San Antonio team. I think he will gel well, whether it comes off the bench or he starts. I think that's priority number one for the San Antonio team because you're not looking to contend next year. You're just looking to help bridge that gap until Wembanyama is really making that jump now and you start to get really all of your pieces together fully developed. So that's number one plan for the Spurs this offseason. And now I have two trades that could be a little interesting. I see them as realistic type of trades, but also a little bit of a swing at some of these moves. And my first move is trading the Spurs trading Doug McDermott to the New York Knicks for Evan Fournier and a 2024 second round pick. It is clear as day as the Knicks that want to get rid of Evan Fournier. He has 2 years left on his contract at $18 million per year on both of them. Doug McDermott has 1 year left of, I think, $11 or $12 million. So you can just go ahead and throw him away there. You're getting Doug McDermott who can come and score off the bench, not be that three-point guy, and you're getting off the books. And another thing you'll see is a little trend here with the next pick. Evan Fournier from France can help build that connection with Victor Wembanyama, can kind of help him how he transitioned to the NBA from France. I think that'd be a good pickup to kind of have off the bench. And Evan Fournier can still get you buckets. He might not be able to defend worth a shit, but he can get you buckets still. And then my next trade, we're going to be looking at kind of trading these bigger contracts that they have to maybe potentially open up more contracts they can give out. Devontae Graham from the Spurs, I just mentioned him a minute ago. He has 2 years left on his deal for $12 million, I believe. He won't be starting at point guard. So go ahead and send him to a team that needs a point guard next year in the Los Angeles Clippers. You're going to be getting back Nick Batum and a 2024 second round pick as well with that. Keep stocking up those draft picks if you're San Antonio. You draft well anyways, so why not keep stacking them up? And Nick Batum, another guy from France, veteran guy, has been very vocal about how Wembanyama is a superstar prospect, how much he enjoys him, how much of a good person he is. So I'm super into this trade just to the fact of even if the Clippers the Spurs don't keep Batum and they waive him and let him go play for a contender, getting off Devontae Graham's contract now, he's 29 right now. He's not going to be anything more than a guy who just comes in and hits threes. You can find a young guy for cheap that can do that. So I think those are two really good moves for the San Antonio Spurs in the trade-wise. And then obviously bringing back Tre Jones because this is a year where you're, again, just trying to bridge that gap of, hey, Wembanyama's first year, let's get it moving and get this second year going. So now we can start building up big money with the salary cap that we're going to have. Moving on to the second overall pick in the draft in the Charlotte Hornets, who had a 27-55 record, obviously lost LaMelo Ball to an ankle injury, and he missed the rest of the season, had to get surgery. So that team was straight hot ass Looking at some of their free agents, Kelly Oubre Jr. and Dennis Smith Jr., both unrestricted free agents. PJ Washington, their lone restricted free agent, former first-round pick out of Kentucky. Their draft picks, you have 2, 27, both first-round picks, and then you have 34, 39, and 41 in the second round, all kind of in the same area. So when you're looking at the draft, at number 2, it's going to come down to these two guys, Scoot Henderson from the G League Ignite or Brandon Miller out of Alabama. Now, everybody knows Brandon Miller, knows his case and everything around him, but there's no denying his incredible shot-making ability, his tenaciousness, I believe that's a word, I hope that's a word, on defense. I think that it's really going to be a huge help for any team with his upside on the defensive end. So I think 2 can go to Scoot or Brandon Miller. Now, personally, I believe it should be Scoot Henderson. I believe in an era where positionless basketball is more prominent than ever, you don't care if you have LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball and Scoot Henderson would complement each other very well. Both are very good facilitators, but LaMelo, a guy who will shoot it, can shoot it, likes catch and shoot threes. Scoot, a guy who is going to kill it on the defensive end, can help hide LaMelo a little bit defensively, and attack the rim and finish like Prime Westbrook could. So I think Scoot would be a better pick, but you cannot go wrong with Brandon Miller there. And at 27, you're getting a late guy here. This is going to be one of those younger guys or guys that you'll like to see some of the things he did in college and maybe want to take a swing on. And one of them is going to be Andre Jackson Jr. out of UConn. We saw him in the Final Four run this year in the championship run with UConn. Very good defender. Undeveloped shot, really, but he's a high motor guy, going to give you a lot of good defense. And on a team that needs it, I think he'd be a good pick there. And then Max Lewis, another guy we're going to get into at a later date, was some of my sleeper guys that I like in this draft. He's out of Pepperdine, had a fantastic start to the collegiate season. Kind of started to fall off because they started throwing doubles and triple teams and started blitzing them. But there's no denying his incredible shot making, great corner three-point shooter, and can even attack the rim, and not even the worst defender either. I think that's a great pick there. And then for those 3 second-round picks, I'm just going to throw out some names here. Julian Strawther out of Gonzaga, high volume shooter. Julian Phillips, we just mentioned, out of Tennessee. Jordan Walsh out of Arkansas, a guy that's rising up draft boards with his incredible defensive ability, locked down on the perimeter, and a solid three-point shot. Let's see, Sidi Sissoko, a wing from the G League Ignite. If you draft Scoot Henderson, you can reunite him with a former teammate of his. He's a little bit more of a raw prospect you have to work with, but also wouldn't be the worst pick in the world. And then Amani Bates, another guy who is a raw prospect out of Eastern Michigan / Memphis / wherever you want to say he's from. He was supposed to be the next great thing, but obviously has some off-the-court stuff that he had to deal with, and a lot of other things with that just kind of distracted him away from the game of basketball. And you're starting to see him in these draft interviews and draft ramp-ups, and it's starting to look like he's changing a little bit of his heart a little bit, starting to have a little bit better motives, be a little bit more supportive of his teammates, which has been an issue for him in the past. Seemed like he's bailed out on his team a lot. But, again, was regarded as one of the highest prospects in all of college or all of high school and prep ball. So the potential is still there. It's just which team can find the right place for him, and will he be willing to learn and develop. So those guys would be my second round selections. If I'm Charlotte, a bunch of guys that can come off the bench, high volume scorers, some really good defenders, and just a mix of guys with length, size, and speed and athleticism. And then moving on to the potential moves for the offseason, I have 3 as well here for the potential moves going into the offseason. I'm going to go ahead and get the first one out of the way because this is very controversial. Miles Bridges, who was suspended 30 games for an alleged domestic violence case and all this type of stuff, going on around him. He will be reinstated and available to play come next season. If the Hornets do investigate and decide that he is clear to play and is good and is a change of heart, you have to get him back. As a basketball player, Miles Bridges is the type of guy you need on that team. Plus, he has great chemistry with LaMelo already on that pick and roll lob situation. And he was before he got suspended, he was just starting to show some signs of light from the 3-point line and really starting to knock those down at a good percentage. So if everything's clear there and you're the Hornets, I would not hate the idea of them swinging and trying to get him. And you won't be able to, or you'll be getting him for a little bit lower price than you were before because he's just going to want a shot to play again. And then my next two are trades. The first one, not really as much of a high trade in comparison to the next one. But the first one is, I know I gave the Spurs one about Devontae Graham, but this is if that doesn't even happen. Looking at it, Terry Rozier is a guy that he's going to give you a bunch of buckets, but not much else, right? He is a bucket getter, and that's all he's got to his name. He's also got $20 million to his name for the next 2 years. And with the Hornets, and you're trying to create this youth movement, go ahead and dump that off your salary. So Terry Rozier is going to get traded to the Los Angeles Clippers for Terrence Mann, Robert Covington, and a 2024 second-round pick. Robert Covington's to match the salary. Terrence Mann also making $10 million, but Terrence Mann a little bit more of an upside with him. Can knock down the occasional three ball. Very good defender. Really good piece that I think you could put aside LaMelo. Whether you get Scoot or Brandon Miller, I think he can play the 2 or the 3 for them, and he'll still be very effective. Obviously, Robert Covington probably going to end up getting waived, and then you're just stacking another second-round pick on top of that. And then my last move for the Charlotte Hornets, a little bit bigger of a swing, but something that in my mind I've had for a while and thought of as a really good option for both sides, honestly. A little bit of a sign-in trade. So as a restricted free agent, you're allowed, I think I mentioned it last episode with DeAndre Ayton. As a restricted free agent, you're allowed to negotiate with other teams. And if you decide to sign with another team, the team that has your rights has the chance to match it and bring you back. But a lot of the cases you'll see teams where like, I'm good, we don't want to match, but we want to sign and trade, where basically the team that wants them signs them for that contract, but sends something back in order to fit them underneath their cap. And one of the weird things I have here in my mind is, this is just a random trade I thought of, is PJ Washington in a sign-in trade packaged with Gordon Hayward. So that's like $50 million combined, sent to the Atlanta Hawks, or actually PJ Washington, Gordon Hayward, and one of the guys they pick with the 2023 second rounders. It doesn't really matter who. You just got to send an extra player to Atlanta. To Atlanta for John Collins. Now, John Collins, a guy that hasn't really shown much production with Atlanta. High flyer, incredible finisher around the rim. Miles Bridges style of finisher. Guy who likes to go up for lobs and not afraid to attack the rim at all. Undeveloped three-point shot, but he's trying to work on it and get there. I think he's just wanted to change the scenery. There's been a lot of times where you didn't think he was going to re-sign back, ended up re-signing back. But I think this is a win-win for both situations. You're losing Bogdanovich if you're Atlanta. We'll talk about them at a later date. So you get Gordon Hayward in as a veteran guy who can knock down the three. Yes, injury issues are a case, but you're only on the books for 1 year. And I know it's $30 million, but it's 1 year. And then you're getting P.J. Washington, a young forward who's starting to find himself in the offensive game, able to get rebounds, and is not the worst defender in the world. So you're getting one of those guys, and then you're also getting one of the second-round picks. And then you're now bringing John Collins to the Charlotte Hornets, where he can be that high flyer, lob threat that LaMelo loves throwing it to. And I think that'd be a great addition for Charlotte there. And that'll finish off Charlotte's part. And I know this is going a little long, like I said, but I'm also looking at my screen, and there's a hockey game that's about to go to triple overtime that we're not even going to be able to talk about, unfortunately. So it's going to be a little bit longer of an episode here for you guys. But I know that some of these breakdowns are kind of cool for people who don't know necessarily team situations or how they're necessarily going to be handled. The third team with the third pick is going to be the Portland Trail Blazers, who were in the playoff hunt for a lot of the time, and at the end of the season shut down Damian Lillard and tanked for a pick. They got the third pick. They had a record of 33-49, and the current free agents going into the offseason for them, Jeremy Grant and Justice Winslow are both unrestricted free agents. Cam Reddish and Matisse Thybulle are both going to be restricted free agents. And then Kevin Knox has a team option of $3 million that I don't see them taking. I see them declining that most likely. But when it comes to the Trailblazers in the draft, they have the third overall pick. And it's already been said that they're looking to trade it to build alongside Dame. They want to use that third pick to get a superstar or two to help out Dame while he's still here. And that doesn't really make sense to me, honestly. I don't know why you wouldn't be taking somebody here at 3 and then just moving Dame on and just going straight for the rebuild, right? I think that's been Portland's issue. Do we keep Damian Lillard and try to use as much as we can out of his prime, or do we potentially go with the other route in getting rid of him, fully embracing the youth movement, and moving on from there? But I think that they end up trading the pick. But if they do, they have the third pick and they keep it. Scoot Henderson, Brandon Miller, the same two would be in play here as well. If they keep it and decide to move Damian Lillard, get Scoot Henderson to be the point guard of the future for your team. They also have the 23rd pick at the end of the first round and the 43rd pick in the second round. Some of the guys at 23 I like. Derek Lively out of Duke, a guy who is an incredible defensive player, not much of an offensive guy, but he's starting to learn and show teams a little bit of his shot. So I think that's going to be a big thing for him, is if he can develop that shot. He could be effective. And for a team that needs an extra big man, wouldn't hurt. Colby Jones out of Xavier, another guy, high three-point percentage, going to shoot a lot of them, could fit in well with the team. And then Chris Murray, twin brother of Keegan Murray of the Sacramento Kings, another guy, just scores and scores and scores. You need to support Dame if you're going to keep this pick or keep any of these things. Surround him with scorers, because that's been his issue, is you've been getting them bench players that are Enes Kanter or Nasir Little or Mo Harkless that just aren't really going to do it for you. They're not going to move the needle for you. So get some of those guys. And then with the 43rd pick in the second round, Amari Bailey out of UCLA, raw prospect. Terrence Shannon out of Illinois, good playmaker, good defender, not real much of a shot. Jordan Walsh, we mentioned him earlier, out of Arkansas. But some of the big things we got here, I got 4 moves for this Portland Trailblazers team that I think has a chance to really do something special with this pick, whether they keep it or not. I think, first off, you need to bring back Cam Reddish and or Matisse Thybulle. Cam Reddish showed some flashes after getting traded to Portland that he could be that high-volume scorer, that high-electricity scorer. I just don't know what the price would be for Cam Reddish this offseason. But he's a restricted free agent, so you can match if you want to. And then same for Matisse Thybulle. Not much of an offensive game, but he's going to be one of those guys to help protect Dame on the defensive side of things and play good defense, lock it down. Now, I've created 2 different trades here for Portland, and I think you can do both of these. I did a whole thing on Fanspo. If you don't know what Fanspo is, it's a great trade proposal website, mock draft, all that type of stuff. First trade I have is Yusuf Nurkic in the 23rd pick for DeAndre Ayton. His value for the Suns is at an all-time low. He obviously doesn't want to be there, despite him saying he's okay being there. He does not want to be there at all. You look at when you look at a guy like Yusuf Nurkic that can score a lot, is not afraid to shoot the ball from the 3-point line, score in the post. He's an effective guy. I think he is pretty important for a Phoenix Sun team that needs another scorer like that, especially in the post. And then the 23rd overall pick, you're getting the Suns another guy to add to that depth. And then the final trade, the big one, the granddaddy of them all, Anthony Simons, their young guy out of IMG Academy, in the 3rd overall pick to the Toronto Raptors for Pascal Siakam in 13. And this is where you go all in. This is where you get Dame's sidekick. This is where you get the guy that's going to help move the needle for them. And you're keeping the 13th pick. You can still get a guy at 13 if you want to go a backup point guard route after Dame, like Jalen Hood-Schifino, Kobe Bufkin out of Michigan, guys like that are going to be in that range and help out in the long-term process, but also getting a guy like Pascal Siakam that is going to be super effective playing with Damian Lillard. Another 23-point-per-game scorer plus. Anthony Simons, yes, but he doesn't bring you anything defensively. He's a very inconsistent, streaky shooter, but Pascal Siakam brings you boards, brings you aggressiveness on the defensive end, and most importantly, can bring you the offensive game that would work really well with Damian Lillard. And I think a lot of people like that idea of Pascal Siakam going to the Portland Trailblazers. But that'll be it on the top 3 teams in my offseason outlook this week. I know we've gone a little bit long, and there's not much hockey to talk about because there's only one game that's happening, and it's not even over. We'll get to you on Monday with games, or not games, with the guys who have picks 4, 5, and 6. So that would be the Houston Rockets, the Detroit Pistons, and the Orlando Magic, I believe. Or the Detroit Pistons. I can't remember who has 6, but or not the Detroit Pistons, the Pacers. We'll figure it out. We'll get there when we get there. I've been recording too long. It's late. Like I said, there's not much going on in the NHL just because this game hasn't even ended. It's 2-2 in double OT, about to go to triple OT. I mean, we could talk about the Kraken losing Game 7. They might as well have just stayed in Seattle. There's not even much to talk about there. We'll talk more about hockey on Sunday whenever we get a couple more games in our belt. Big NBA episode today. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Like I said, sorry we've gone a little bit too long talking about basketball and that there's no hockey for you guys, but I know a lot of you guys don't really keep up with it as much, so you're not going to die if you don't get your hockey digest for today. But big basketball episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys again Monday for another episode. Like I said, we'll do off-season outlooks. We'll get to you the reactions to games 3 and 4 in both of the series. We'll get to you another off-season outlook. I'll try to run through it a little bit quicker this time so that we're not going to have an hour-and-a-half episode. But I appreciate you guys all listening. If you made it this far, I appreciate it more than you'll ever know. A lot of the support and feedback I've gotten over the past month, I really do appreciate it a lot. I hope you guys continue to listen to me because I enjoy knowing you guys somehow care about my opinions, I guess. So thank you all for listening again this week. We'll be back Monday. I'm your host, Alex McNinch, and you just got your Sports Digest.